slide visible? The slide is visible, huh? Is the slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So last class also I was talking about the static members and all. So first thing is, one point to remember is static member will hold the global data. Means the data is common to all the objects that are present inside a class. For example, I told you that when you take an example of a class, the department can be the static member or static variable. When you take an example of a class, uh, the static variable can be the college name. When you take an example of a company, the company name, if it is an Infosys, the Infosys can be static member like that. So the data that is common and it doesn't need multiple copies, or the data is common to all the objects. For the employees who are working in Infosys, their company name will be Infosys. So that Infosys can be in a static member. So for example, if you take an example of bank, the rate of interest will be common for all the accounts. Whether it is a saving bank account means the rate of interest is common to all the account holders. So you can consider that interest rate as um, the static member. So what one thing is, like, the static member will not have multiple copies. It will have only a single copy that will be shared by all the objects. So this is an example. So one thing is the static variable, they are the members of the class, they are not the members of the object. So static members are the members of the class, and they are not the members of the objects. So they doesn't belong to any object, they belong to the class. So how to define how to define a static how to define a static uh, variable means, so normally we can write it as integer x. So this is a normal variable, no? You have to add a keyword called static. So if you prefix a keyword called static, now x is a static variable. Now x is a static variable. So this is how you make a variable as static. So how to make a variable as static means, so within the class, you just need to define the variable with the keyword static variable type and variable name. So this variable x can be, so the static variable can be, it can be of integer type, it can be of float type, it can be of character type, it can be of double type also. So it can be anything. In our example, I've declared the static variable as integer data type. So this is a one point. So this static variable can be of float, it can be of integer, it can be of any data type which is supported by C++. So this point you should remember. And also, once I write the statement, memory will not be allocated. So because inside the class, the memory will not be allocated. This is just a blueprint. Class is a blueprint. Memory will not be allocated if I write like this. See, for objects, for normal variables, the memory will be allocated whenever you are creating an object. Whenever you are creating an object, then only memory will be allocated. For static variables also, this is just a declaration of the static variable. The memory will not be allocated. The memory will not be allocated. So uh, when it is when the class is declared, the memory will not be allocated. So memory will be declared when you are defining the static variable outside this class. So outside this class means this part. So this class is ending at this area. So outside this class. So if you're defining, when you define the static variable, then only memory will be allocated. How to define this means, you know how to access this variable x outside the class means class name, scope resolution operator, then variable name. What is the type of this variable? Integer. So this is how you will define that. So now memory will be allocated. So when you are defining the static variable outside the class, then only the memory will be allocated because it is a member of the class. So if you are not writing anything means, by default the value of this will be 0. If I write like this, initial value of x will be 0. But, 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 but if I want to give some initial value means I can give it as x is equal to 5. So like this also I can initialize the value. I can initialize the value, or I can just directly write that if I'm not giving any value, the default value will be 0. And also, so the statement is compulsory. So you have to define that outside the class, then only the memory will be allocated. Otherwise you will get an error. The link error you will get, the linker will produce an error. So these are some of the points that is related to the static members. So um, one more thing is the static member doesn't increase the size, that it doesn't increase the size of the objects of the class. So that you should keep in mind, because the static members belong to the class level, they doesn't belong to the object level. So, and also one copy of the static member, I think someone is in the lobby, I'll just check. uh, One second, someone is in the lobby. I'll just let him in. Okay. So, and also the static member will be only one copy. So one copy will be shared among all the things. I mean, among all the objects. So that is how the static member um, or static variable works. So any doubt in the static data members? Static data members? Any doubt? Any doubt in the static data member? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay. Now this is some regarding the basics, and I will give you some few more inputs to the static members. So we were talking about the basics. Now we'll just talk about the other functionalities of the static um, data members. So I defined one class. Now I defined one class called demo. So now um, the first thing is like. mm I told you that if you want to make a class as static, you should write it as the keyword static, integer, then the variable name static, data type, the variable name. After that, you can close the class. Then if you want to use this, if you want to allocate the memory means data type, class name, scope resolution, and its value. So this is how the first thing is. Now few changes. Now few changes can be like see this static variables is there, no? This can be, the static variables can be referred by the member functions directly. For example, there is a function called display. I'm writing a function called display. So I'm just declaring the function here. So if I want access is outside means the return type is void. Class name is demo. After that, the function name is display. The function name is display. So now this display function can access this display function, which we'll call it as a member function. They can access this variable x directly. So directly they can write x is equal to x plus 5. Some statement directly they can write this, or they can directly print cout x. So they can directly access this variable. The variable they can directly access this variable x. So this is one variation. So I'll just clear this. Okay, so this is one variation. So what point you are getting this means the member functions can the member function here, the member function means function here. The function is referring to the static variable directly. Member function can refer to the static variable directly. So that is the one point which you should remember. And also inside the main function, so inside the main function, so you can access this interest rate. For example, I'll create an object called demo D. I'll create an object called demo D. From demo D, I can access this variable. I can access this variable by variable, I mean object dot variable. I can write like this. I can write like this. Also, I can directly access this variable from the class name only. Class name, scope resolution, and the variable name. I mean, how to access the variable from the main class. So you can either access from object to member. One thing is object to member accessing, that is the object name dot variable name. For accessing the object, I mean for accessing the static variable with respect to an object D, or you can use the class name, scope resolution operator, and the static member. This method is also possible. So two methods are there. See, 3 points. First thing is we studied about the static variables. Then what we studied, uh, from the function you can directly access the static variable. From the main function you can access in two ways. One thing is you can create an object. Using this object you can access the variable, static variable. Other way, directly you can access from the class also. Class name, scope resolution, that static variable name. So this is also correct. So there is no error in this. There is no error in this. And also static members, you can also use static members as a default value. You can use static members as a default value. For example, this function displays there, no? This function displays there, no? So you can use it as a default value, meaning you can give static members can be passed as a default value for the functions, but there is a normal function called integer k. So this is correct, but there is a normal function called integer, sorry, there is a normal variable called integer k. So for that, if you try to provide default variable, it is an error. It is an error. So remember this point. Only static variables you can pass to the member functions as default values, because your x is static, no. So compiler will not give you any error. But whereas variable k is there, no, it's a normal variable. So if you try to pass it as an if you try to pass it as a default value, it will throw an error. Are you getting this? Are you getting this? Are you getting this? See, 3 points I told. Functions can access this variable, static variable, directly. If you want to access the static variable directly, you can create an object. You can create an object. From that object also you can access, or you can directly access from the class name, scope resolution, variable name. After that, so there is a function called display function. So for this, if it is a static variable, means you can pass it as the default value. Static variable can be passed as the default value for the member functions, no error. But there is one function called a display. So if you try to pass a normal variable, if you try to pass a normal variable as default value, compiler will throw an error. Yes or no? You're getting these points? Yes, no, yes, no. Any confusions? I'll explain it again. If you have any confusions, you just let me know. Are you understanding this? No response. Why no response?
Understood, sir.
Understood, ah? Okay. Uh, okay. So this is regarding the static variable. This is regarding the static variable. This is regarding the static variable. The same way, even you can create the function. You can also make the function as static. So see, static variable, these many points are there. So we'll discuss. I'll run the program related to all these points. The first thing is let us be clear with the theory side. So if you're clear with the theory side, the same program I can type it and I can execute on the system. So static variables, these many points we have covered. So now let us check with uh, static member function. So static member function means For variable, if you want to make a variable as static, you are prefixing with the keyword called static to that variable. The same way, if you want to make a function as a static member function, means you have to prefix that function prototype with the keyword static. Meaning, what is function prototype? Function prototype means, by this time you know what do you mean by function prototype. So function prototype means it will have return type, the name of the function, the name of the function, and some parameter. So for this is a normal member function. So if you want to make this function a static member function, just add the keyword static. So now display has become the static member function. So static member function. So what is the purpose of this function? The purpose of this function is to access the static data variables or modify the static data variables. So if you prefix the function prototype with the keyword static, it will become a static member function. So this should be used only in the prototype. It should not be used in the function definition. So function definition will remain same. Return type, class name, then return type, class name, and display. And it is taking some parameter. It is taking some parameter. I'll take it as k. So after that, logic. So what is the purpose? What is the purpose of this? Static member function is to access the static member variable or to modify the static member variable. So I'll declare one static variable, static integer x. So now my purpose of this display function is to either access this variable x or modify this variable x. So declaration is done. I have to define this. So if I want to define this, means again the same thing, integer class name, because I want to give some value. No, I want to give some value x. I'll give x with some default value 5. So now after this, I'll just change the value of x with whatever I'm passing from the function demo. So this is how the static member function works. Its main purpose is to access the value of static variable or modify the value of static variable. So how to make a function as static means prefix the keyword static in the prototype. After that, define that function, but don't use the static prototype. Uh, these are some of the points which you should remember. And also, how do you call this? So you can call this functions. You can call this function. So now definition is done, writing is done. Now you can call this function. You can call this function called display without creating object also. Without creating object also, you can call this function. How do you call that function? Means the same thing. Object you can call directly by like static variable you can call directly by class name colon, sorry, scope resolution x. The same way you can call this function display directly using class name also, demo scope resolution and the function name. Even if you write like this also, even if you write like this, the function can be accessed. Now the value of k will be 15, so x will become 15 because I'm passing 15 as the value. Now directly also you can call, or if you want to call the object also, if you want to call using the object also, you can do that. Demo d d dot d dot function name is display some 50. So this is also correct. Using class you are able to access the function, or you can create an object. From the object also you can access the function. Two ways of accessing the static members. Any doubt here? Any doubt? Yes or no? Yes, no. Any doubts, any clarifications? Getting this point or not? See, you have to just unmute and you have to answer, because since I'm presenting inside the slide, I will not be seeing the responses. So if you're listening, you just unmute and you just tell whether you're understanding or whether you're having any confusions or any doubts. Is this concept understood? Kushi, Manjula, Nayana,
Yes,
Nisarga.
sir.
So now we will talk about nested inner classes. See, what do you mean by nested classes? Means a class inside another class, you can call it as the nested class. So for example, I'm writing one class. How to write a class in C means class A. So this is how you'll be writing the classes in C++. So this is how you'll write the classes in C++. So inside this class, if you're creating one more class, if you're creating one more class, then this will become the nested class. So nested class means a class can be defined inside another class. Here inside the class A, I'm defining one more class called class B, a class within another class. We can call it as the nested class. Okay. So now this class is known as enclosing class. This class is known as enclosing class. A class that contains a nested class is known as the enclosing class, and also this we will call it as the nested class. So by definition, a class within another class or a class that is defined in another class is known as nested class. So the class that contains a nested class is known as enclosing class. So here class A is known as the enclosing class. The class B is known as nested class. So this class B nested class it can be called like public. It can be in the public area, or it can be in the protected region, or it can be in the private also. The three things which we have referred now: access modifiers, protected, public, private, those three things. So nested class can be defined in private, public, or protected portion of the enclosing class. Is this points clear? So one class is there. Inside that class, you're using one more class. So this we will call it as nested class. For this, we will call it as enclosing class, and for this, we will call it as nested class. After that, this nested class can be in the public portion, or private portion, or protected portion of enclosing class. So it can be in any of the three regions. You can, if you write it as public, it will be in the public portion. If you write it as private, it will be in the private portion. And if you write it as protected, it will be in the class B will be in the protected portion. So this is um, some of the this is some of the points related to nested class. So after this we will one second. So I'll just make it as public. So now you know how to define. Now you know how to define the nested classes. A class. This is the syntax to define the nested class. So now after this, what can we do? After this, what can we do? So um, see what is the purpose? See, nested class is created so that we can avoid a name collision. So we can avoid a name collision such that if even if there is one more class in the global space, so its name will not get clashed with the class B. So even if there is even outside this source code, even if there is another class called B, so the name collision will be avoided. So this class name and this class name will not get affected. So that's why you can use nested classes. So now this is regarding the definition of nested classes. And now one more thing. Now some features of nested class. I'll write it as class A. I'll create a variable called X, which belongs to class A. After that, in the public region, I'll create class B. I'll create class B, uh, class B, and now I'll inside this is the main function. This is the main function. So some part. So now what you must understand means, now the class, the class, if I create an object of class A, so the size of the object will be only the size of the integer, the size of the integer. So the size of the class, the size of the object, sorry, the size of the object of an enclosing class. So your A is the enclosing class, B is the nested class. So the size of the enclosing class is not affected by the presence of nested class. The nested class presence doesn't affect the size of the enclosing class object. So even if I create an object, now this object small a, this object related as AB, if I create an object AB, the object AB will be only the size of integer. It is not affected by the presence of nested class B. So the size of the object of an enclosing class A is not affected by the presence of nested class. So if you calculate the size of A, it will be 4, because it contains only one variable x, which is of type integer. If you calculate the size of the int, it will also be 4. So it doesn't calculate the size of like nested class B. Is this point clear? Is this point clear? So the size is not affected. The size is not affected by the presence of, the size is not affected by the presence of nested class for an object that belongs to enclosing class. So this point you should remember. After this, now how to define the members, how to access the members, means how to access the functions, how to access the variables. We will talk about that. So now we have defined. So this main class, I'll write it here. So now there is a class. So now how to add functions, how to add the functions, how to write the functions. For example, I'll write some function called display B. So if I write a function called display B, how do I add logic to this? How do I define this function B? So um, the functions of class B, the functions of class B can be defined outside the definition of class A also. Like outside this enclosing class also you can define. So you can write it here. This is the area where you can write the logic for function display B. For example, there is a function called void display B. So I'll just write it here. So there is a function. I'll take it in the public area. I'll write a function called void display. This belongs to B, no? So that's why I'll write it as display B. So I've defined here. So now the logic for this function display B, can be defined outside the definition of enclosing class. Outside the definition of enclosing class means here. So how to define that? So now you know that outside the class A, this function display B can be defined. So now how do I define that? Means it can be defined by using the following methodology. So you can define the logic for this function display B outside the class A. So sir, how to define that? Means it can be defined by prefixing the function name, prefixing the function name with scope resolution, then nested class name, then enclosing class name. So it can be done like this. Sir, how to access? Means enclosing class name, after that inner class name, after that function name. So this is how you can write the logic. Void return type of this display function. So any doubt here? So how to access this function display B means, so now you want to write some message. So how to do that means, first thing is you have to write the outer class. First thing is you have to prefix with the scope resolution operator, the class name of this thing. So how to access that means, first thing is write the outer class name. After that, scope resolution, inner class name, scope resolution, display means the function name. And what is the return type? Return type void. So inside your writing logic, now you can just display a message. This is inner class method. This is inner class B. You can write some message, that's all. So this is how you can access. So now you should know how to access. How to access means outer class name, scope resolution, inner class name, scope resolution, function name. So this is how you will be accessing. So hmm, in this is done by prefixing the function name with the name of the enclosing class, followed by the scope resolution, followed by the nested class, followed by the scope resolution, and again followed by the function name. That is outer class, scope resolution, inner class, scope resolution, function name. So this is how you can access this display function. So sir, after this what can we do? So the same terminal, the same thing also you can follow. So the same thing. um, so this is one way, no? So even you can apply this for classes also. So for example, you'll write a class A. After that, you'll just define class B. You'll just declare that class B. The same terminology. Now A is the enclosing class, B is the, what do we call B? B is the nested class. So now you want to add members to this class B. So that can be done in this way. How to do that? If you want to access class B means, first write class A, then scope resolution class B, then write add the members of add members of B, meaning this you can write here, this you can write here. The another way of writing the same thing, you can define the class, A, and within that class you can just declare class B. After that, if you want to use class B means, you can use the notation class A, scope resolution class B, add members of class B. So this is also done here. In this, the first, say in the second example, the class is being prototyped within the enclosing class. Here the class B is being prototyped within the enclosing class A, and it is defined later. Here it is prototyped, here it is defined. So this is also you can do. The terminology is same, the scope resolution. So this is one more methodology. So after this, just clear this part. Okay. So this can also be done. So what else is there? What else is there with respect to this nested class? Sorry. So now, sir, how to create the objects of nested class? How to create the objects of nested class? Um, Means the same thing. So um, for that, you can take it as class A colon. Sorry, it's not colon. It's scope resolution B. Then I'll write it as B object. No, I'll write it as B object. So now here B object is an object of class B. So um, objects of the nested class means, here B is the nested class, A is the enclosing class. So objects of the nested class um, can be defined outside. The objects of the nested class can be defined outside the member function of this enclosing class in the same way. If you want to create an object of class B, You can use scope resolution, you can use scope resolution, class or outer class name, scope resolution, inner class name, object name. So you can also follow this thing. um, but this will work only when the display function, this will work only when the class B is in public area. If it is in private area or if it is in protected area, you will get an compile time error. So that thing should be taken care. So after that, this is okay. So next we will check, next we will do some more variations for this, some more variations for this. Can we clear this? No. Okay. So if you're not understanding anywhere, please you just stop the, you just interrupt me there and you just ask the questions, because you should be clear with this concepts. So I'm telling, I'm explaining one line and I'm writing the code for that. Um, so somewhere, even if you're not understanding or somewhere there is some issue, you just let me know, because I will be explaining with the assumption that you're understanding everything. So even if you are getting confused or something, you just let me know. So now, uh, one class I've defined. No, I'll create the in a nested class, class B. So now for this class B, for this class B, for this class B, now I want to create an object of the, I want to create an object of the nested class. So I can create that class, I can create the object inside this class A by using the statement B object. I need not use scope resolution operator. If I'm creating it outside, I need to use scope resolution operator. But but if I'm creating an object for this class B inside the enclosing class, means directly I can write this statement. Directly I can write the statement B object. So now after this, after this, what I'm doing means I'm declaring an object. I'm declaring an object of the nested class inside inside the enclosing class. So after this I'll create one function. After this I'll create one function. After this I'll create one function, public uh, void. I'll erase this part. Void public void display A. So this is a function, display A, it's a function. So this is class B and this is the object of class B. Now display A, it's a function of class A, it's a function of class A. So what this is doing means, uh, the class A, which is the enclosing class, which the class A, which is the enclosing class, it contains one more class called class B, which is a nested class. I'll write one function for this also. It contains, class B contains one function called display B, and I've created an object of class B, but class A contains one more function called display A. So now how to access this class A function means return type. This display A belongs to class A. So class A scope resolution. After that, the name, function name display A. So now inside this member function, so inside this member function, I can access, inside this member function, I can call this display function by using the object. So I can call this uh, display function, function of class B by using this object, like object dot display function. So I need not use scope resolution. No need to use scope resolution. No need to use scope resolution. I need not write it as a scope resolution object dot display. I need not write this. So directly by using the B class object, I can access this function. I can create one more object also, BC. After that, I can call BC dot display of B. So like this. So no need of scope resolution operator. So the object of nested class can access the member functions. So object of the object of nested class, the object of nested class can access the member functions of enclosing class without scope resolution operator. So see, b dot object, object of b object is object of nested class. It is accessing the display. It is accessing 1 second. It is accessing it is accessing it is accessing the functions without any without any, what do we call, without any um, scope resolution operator. So that is what an object of the nested class, you can use it to access any member functions of the enclosing class without um, without scope resolution operator. So I'll just check this code. Okay. Okay, this is also fine. um, so this is one scenario. After this, one more scenario is there. Okay, fine. So any doubt here? Any doubt here? See, it is not accessing what I was telling means an object. See, an object of the nested class here. B object is object of the nested class, can be used inside the member function of enclosing class without scope resolution operator. It is not accessing here. It is not accessing display function. It is not accessing display a function, but you can use them inside the member function without scope resolution, because you're not writing like this. You're not writing like this. You're not writing like this. You're not writing the statement like this. You're directly accessing the function of class B, meaning um, I'll just the statement which I told you know, I'll write it code wise. So object of nested class, here B is the nested class. Object of nested class means B object. So B object, object of nested class can be used inside inside the member function of enclosing class. So member function means display A. So I can use the object of nested class inside the member function of enclosing class, because display A is a function that belongs to enclosing class A. Inside that, without scope resolution operator, and I can also access I can access the members of this display. Also I can access display. I can access the function also. And also moreover, the objects of nested class um, can also be a member of uh, enclosing class also. So this is what one statement: an object of nested class can be used inside the member function of the enclosing class without scope resolution operator. Here I'm not using scope resolution. Here I'm not using scope resolution operator. So this is one thing. So these are some of the points. These are some of the points um, that are um, that are related to um, that are related to nested inner classes. So any doubts here? Any doubts here? Any doubts with respect to nested inner class? Yes or no? See, programming, I will just execute it in the class in the next classes. Maybe this class I just wanted you people to understand the theory a bit. So once the concept is done, so the programming I can uh, just type it out and I can explain it the same concept. But the first thing is you understand the concept. So if you understand the concept, the programming, just we need to, whatever we have learned, we just need to type it as per the syntax and all. So mm, so any doubt here? Nested class, any doubt? Any doubt with respect to nested class? Yes or no? Whether you people are listening or what? So I'm not getting any
No, no,
response
sir.
on the. Okay, so nested class and one more thing is like I think this if I'll just check if I've missed anything. Um, okay. See uh, even you can also access the see even this member function of the nested class can access the mm member member functions of the enclosing class through the object also, through the pointer also, or through the reference also. For example, one last example of this, on class A, this is the enclosing class. I'll write it as public nested class B, nested class B. So class B, um, it's public. No, before this, I'll write one function of class A. I'll call it as display A function. So after this, I'll write one class B. For class B, I'll give some two functions. I'll give some two functions, public, public, uh, display B function. This is one function, public display B, and uh, one, sorry, void. Again, one more function. I'll just call it as display DISP. One is DISPB and one other one is DISP. So A contains one function called DISPA. B contains two functions DISPB and DISP. Two functions are there. So um, now what I will do means for one function, for one function, for one function called display P, I'll just pass the address of object A. See, A means class name, uh, ampersand means the address of object A. So now what I will do, I want to access this function called, display B. How to access that means, return type is void, outer class name, inner class name. After that, the function name. What is the function name? DISP B. But for DISP B, I have to pass the address. So class name, address, and I'll write it as AB. So after this, I can call I can call this display function by using AB dot display A. But if I try to call this display A function, if I try to call display A function from the other function called disp. So how to access this function disp? Return type is void, outer class name, inner class name, scope resolution, then di sp. And if I try to access from this function, if I want to call display A means, I will get an error. Here I'll get an error. Here it's okay. Why? Because see, the error is produced because you are trying to access to a member of an enclosing object through the function of nested class. See, you're trying to access the member function of enclosing class through the member function of nested class. So that is why you are getting an error. So because the creation of an object of the nested class will not cause the object of the enclosing class to be created, meaning even though you are creating an object of nested class, that doesn't guarantee you the creation of enclosing class, because I told you that this members of class A can be accessed by objects of class A. Members of class B can be accessed by objects. Members of class A can be accessed by objects of class A, and members of class B. Members of class B can be accessed by objects of class B. So here you're just creating the objects of you have, here what you're doing means you're directly trying to access the member function of A without any objects of A. But here I'm creating an object of A and able to access the member function of A. That's why in this scenario I'll not get any error. Here I'm trying to access without creating the object of class A. That's why I will get an error. So this is the one point which I wanted to tell. Uh, so you just keep that point in mind. Why in the first case you will not get an error, in the second case you'll get an, because the creation of an object of a nested class doesn't guarantee the creation of an object of the enclosing class, because it is just controlling the visibility. um, so so that's all.
So
um,
repeat.
okay, see what happened means, see first thing is I created one function. See here class A contained one function called display A. Class B contained two functions, display and display B. Now in the definition of display B, I'm passing an object. I'm passing an object of class A. I'm passing an object of class A. And from that object, I'm accessing see display B. What it is doing means it is accessing display A using class A object. Meaning here display function display A is there. No, it is accessed through the object of class A. But the second function display B is there. No, it is not having any object of class A, but directly it is trying to access the function of class A. See here I'm creating the object of class A, and from that I'm trying to access the member function of class A. But here I'm not creating anything. Here I'm not creating anything. Directly I'm calling that from the member function of class B. So that's why I'm getting an error. So if you want to access the member function of class A, you need to create an object of class A. So that is why the error is produced whenever you're trying to make a direct access. So you're trying to directly access the enclosing class function through the function of nested class. Here display disp is a nested class function and disp is a enclosing class function. So you're trying to access the enclosing class function directly from the display class function. So that's why you are getting an error. But in the first scenario, you're creating an object. So you're creating an object of class A, and using that object you are calling the enclosing class. So that's why in that scenario you'll not get an error. Because I told you that if you're creating an object of nested class, um, that doesn't cause an object of enclosing class to be created. So because it is only for controlling purpose. So if you want to access the functions of class A, you have to create the objects of class A. See, um, here this line is there. No, it is creating the object of class A. From this object only I'm accessing display A. But here I'm accessing directly. So that's why I'll get the error in this scenario and it will work out in the first scenario. Are you getting this point? Yes or no? See, wait, I'll just explain.
Yes.
See, class A, it contains display A function. Class B, two functions, disp and uh, disp B. See, this function is directly calling display A without creating any object. It is not creating any object of class A and it is directly accessing. So you will get an error. But this function dispb is there. No, it is also accessing display A, but it is creating object of class A. It is creating object of class A. Where is that? Here in the parameter passing. So here it is passing the reference of object A. So that's why in the when you execute disp B, you will not get an error because it is accessing this function through the object of class A. But this disp function is there. No, it is directly calling this function without any object of class A. So that's why you are not getting any error. Sorry, you will get error in the second case. In the first case, you will not get any error. Is that clear? Is that clear? Yes or no? Yes or no? Understood or doubt? Do you still have that doubt? Yes or no? See, um, simple terms. Understood, Kirtana? Like your voice is breaking. See, one thing is, for one case, I'm not creating the object and I'm accessing. In the second case, I'm creating the object and accessing. So whenever I'm creating the object of that class, I will not get an error. Whenever I don't create the object and I will try to access it directly, I will get an error. So that's all. These 2 points you keep in mind. So I'll just stop the class now. So remaining will continue in the next class.